This is some extra information about assessment item 2 that you might find useful. A number of students ask me why we have people doing research and teamwork in this subject. Well, it's important. In the workplace, you need to be able to work in teams. You need to be able to work effectively in teams. And often those teams, more and more, are teams where you don't know the people that you'll be working with. So we need to be able to demonstrate that our students have done work in teams. It's part of the requirement of the Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand and CPA. There's also a requirement in the master's degree structure that students be able to do research and to be able to interpret and transmit knowledge to specialist and non-specialist audiences. So we thought this particular subject, with its focus on data and interpreting data qualitatively, would be a good opportunity to get the students, to find some data available through the ABS or through various councils, local government areas, and use that data to come up with a proposal, some decision that you can do. And that's what we've done here. So research and teamwork, we do it because it's important for the accreditation of your degree, and it's important that you be able to demonstrate that you can do this. And it's important for you to see where some of the data could come from that you manipulate in this subject. Now, working in teams is really important, and as part of that, you need to identify who does what when. That's really very basic, and hopefully you've all sorted that out by now. It's important to actually recognise what the individual skills are of the team members to maximise the team result. So if someone's really great at doing really fantastic PowerPoints, then use them. If someone's got a nice clear voice, then use them to do the voiceovers. It's also important when working with teams to make sure that there's as little conflict as possible. So you need to listen to all the ideas that the team members are putting out and working out how to achieve a consensus for the team when you're making some decisions. So there's some of the key things that you need to understand when you're working with teams. Right, now you've got to come up with some additional decision criteria. You've been given a couple of criteria in the task, in the subject outline, but it's really good to flesh those criteria out and to think of what other criteria you might want to use in the decision-making process for this particular assignment. And so some of those criteria might come from some of the data that you find, or it might come from other sources that you, or from your general knowledge, or from just discussing with the other team members what the decision criteria should be. It's also good to have a look at chapters 1 and chapter 3 in the textbook. They've got some good decision models and can give you some extra information that might help you with working out the decision criteria that you're going to use. Now remember that the marking rubric is actually a decision model. It's the decision model that we use to work out what marks you get for this particular assignment. And it sets out a number of criteria. So make sure that you have a look at the criteria in the rubric. There are 3 key criteria. We want you to be able to demonstrate problem-solving skills by building criteria and organising, summarising and interpreting the data that you're collecting for the decision-making purposes. In your reflection, We want you to be able to identify the key performance criteria of good teams and to evaluate how that group worked effectively in achieving your results. Remember, this is only 250 words to be included in your reflection, and more on your reflection in a minute. And of course, you've got to do a PowerPoint presentation with a voiceover, which enables you to get good practice on presentation skills. And finally, you've got to have appropriate resources and referencing. Remember, these do not form part of the word limit or the PowerPoint number that you've got to stick to. Now, the reflection that you do is to be done individually, and you're reflecting on how you worked as a team, and you could have worked out really well as a team and there weren't any problems. To think about how you do a reflection, I've given you a link to WikiHow, which provides you a really good brief summary on how to write a reflection paper. Very, very short paper, 250 words, about a page, on your reflection on the team processes. And finally, the constraints and submission for this assignment. You're to do between 5 and 7 slides. And as I said before, the last slide, which is not counted in this, would include any references that you've used. The voiceover can be 1 to 2 minutes on each slide, and it shouldn't repeat exactly what's in the slide, but talk about around the items that you've got on the slides. And you submit your PowerPoint to EASTS, and only one submission on the PowerPoint. But everyone needs to submit the reflection. Okay, so I hope this has answered any questions that you may have.